Hey everyone out there today. My name is Bret Darby and I'm here with Edward Ruffin. Want to let you guys know we're going to hold tight for a couple minutes. We're in a holding pattern. We're kind of waiting for a couple more people to show up here. If you wouldn't mind, love to ask you some questions and get you to just toss some messages here in the chat. So first off, let us know where you're at right now. Where are you watching this from?
And this means like in the United States, which state, not necessarily like your living room or your kitchen. You can also tell us that too if you want to.
Yeah.
And
Miami,
also,
Ohio.
if you watched the last webinar that Bret was on as well, we want to hear if you've seen the previous one, because this one's going to be a good follow-up to that too.
Manchester, England. Cool. Very cool.
California. Love it.
First time, Tyler. Cool. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Donald from Wisconsin. We had a lot of people from Wisconsin last time. I'm not sure why.
It
could be me. I'm in Madison area, so.
England,
Rachel?
Bangladesh, wonderful. Cool stuff, guys.
Excellent.
Thank you for this.
Yeah, so did anybody get to attend the last webinar? I'd love to know. Washington State.
Oh man, I still want to go there. Still want to travel up there very, very much.
It is a beautiful part of the country. Lived there for a number of years, and I absolutely love it.
Oh man, one day I'll go there and see if you're actually right. And also, guys, let us know if you have also another question we want to ask people is if they currently have, advertisements up and running, if they've been working on them, or if they're kind of, trying to get into it, or if they're struggling as well. Just kind of tell us what your current status is with your advertisements that you have on Amazon. Got someone on the International Space Station. Wow.
Lindsay, calling from space. That's awesome. Good run. New on Amazon. Awesome.
New on Amazon, struggling with PPC.
You're not alone, Javier. A lot of people struggling with PPC. It is a complex topic. And if you don't have the time to dedicate to it, it can definitely be challenging. So hopefully we can share some insights with you here and kind of educate you on a couple things here.
Yeah. And definitely saw someone else as well. So they stopped all their ads at the moment because they don't seem to be working. Once again, you're not alone. We've heard a lot of people say that. We've had a lot of people just say, you know what, I just don't see the return. Hopefully we'll be able to show you some things that you can learn about PPC today and also some other options too that you can get out of that.
Pam, yeah, PPC can drive you crazy. It's done it to everyone, I think. And Ed, like you said, I've seen a number of people come to us and they've just paused ads completely because they're not sure what to do. They don't know the process, and they're not willing to invest a lot of time because there's so many other aspects of running an Amazon business where you've got to dedicate time elsewhere.
Right. Awesome. I think we're ready to go. Thank you guys for that information. Always love hearing about who's in here listening and watching. So thank you for that.
Cool. You ready to get going then?
Let's do it. Let's get started.
Great. Okay. So we are going to be talking through how to reclaim some time, increase your profits, and give you a little bit of expert PPC management from our side of things. I am Bret Darby. I'm an account director for Seller Labs Managed Services, and I'm joined here by my counterpart, Edward Ruffin, who is also an account director here. How you doing, Ed?
Doing great. Really excited about this today. Definitely excited to be doing my first webinar with you, actually. We've definitely had our nerd moments together about PPC. So now I get to show exactly how big of a nerd we both are. So very excited about that.
Absolutely. Ed, you and I talk daily and on the weekends as well about PPC, the evolution of what's happening with Amazon. We're kind of constantly, asking each other questions and sharing knowledge between each other. So really excited to finally get time to sit down here with you and actually talk through this and share some knowledge with everyone else. Yeah,
definitely. I think you guys are going to get some great information out of this. Kind of see different directions that you can go with your PPC and what you can do to really get the most out of it. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Start covering some of this content that we have.
Yeah. So Ed, let's go ahead and look at some stats here because I think that really puts this into perspective. So right now, there's around 90 million Amazon Prime members or subscribers in the United States, and that's just a huge number of individuals who are making use of the Amazon platform quite regularly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
and really, like, on top of that too, US Prime members individually spend an average of about $1,000 each year on the site. So that's just Prime members themselves, and that's just a lot of money that's going through Amazon. It's ridiculous.
and you can do the math there, Ed. I mean, I think we'll do it for them in a second, but
Mhm.
90 million times $1,400 a year on Amazon, that's a lot of money that's going into Amazon through people who are really invested in using it. And
Mhm.
we expect that to continue to grow, as does Amazon and a lot of you guys as well. Right now we're expecting around 50% of households to have Amazon Prime within the calendar year. It's
And
incredible.
that really blows my mind to think that 50% of the households, someone has an Amazon Prime account. And I know I'm one of those, and I think everybody probably at Seller Labs is one of those as well. It's just something you don't think about as much, about how large Amazon has gotten and how everybody takes advantage of, like, the 2-day shipping. They want to jump on that. They want to be able to get things as soon as possible.
Absolutely. So do that math for us. Let's figure out what that math looks like.
So this actually brings it to meaning that Prime members buy over $126 billion in goods each year on Amazon. That is massive. And this really means that if you're not capitalizing on this and you're not, really trying to get a chunk of this and drive traffic successfully on Amazon, you are missing out like tremendously. You are just not taking part of this $126 billion that you could definitely capitalize on.
Absolutely, Ed. And in order to be successful with capitalizing on that, you have to understand the how. You need to figure out how to perform these operations, how to optimize your campaigns, how to structure them. There's a lot of different things that have to be learned to be successful and really make sure you're gaining market share and not slipping away.
Right. And that really does bring it to this. This is actually a really cool graphic to show that advertising is a necessity. It's not just an option. This actually shows you everything in the pink that's highlighted is recent sponsored advertising placements on Amazon. So you can just see how much space there is that's really capitalized by ads. And if you're not trying to gain some of this placement, you are missing out. You're kind of falling maybe below the fold or down the line or on the next page possibly. So you have to make sure that you are running successful ads to get that placement, to take part in those billions of dollars that are coming to Amazon each year.
And Ed, that's really important. And I think one thing that this slide doesn't even capture is that there's also sponsored product placements on all of the various product pages, add to cart, checkout, your own cart, thank you pages. There's sponsored products being placed really everywhere across the site and the whole ecosystem. So you really need to make sure you're taking advantage of making sure your products can get in those placements.
Right. You have to kind of zoom out and think on a larger scale, because you've actually gotten updates in advertising where you can kind of control your placement better, and it can be more aggressive on certain pages if you want to. You have to remember that, because once again, capitalize it in every way you can and as many placements as you can, and make sure you're reaching out to get those customers to come to your page and then convert. As someone that loves your products, they may come back and buy the product again and again in the future. So always keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
And so one thing that I want to point out is the most successful brands on Amazon have one major thing in common. They dominate in Amazon advertising. This is any type of brand, whether it's a larger brand such as Nike or a smaller brand who's just doing things right. They're really just trying to drive people to their pages and then lead to conversions. But the biggest question is, how do they do it, Brett? Like, how are they so successful when it comes to Amazon advertising?
Exactly, Ed. And it really starts with getting the building blocks in place. So we're calling these the cornerstones of how to build a strong foundation for your advertising. I mean, it really boils down to just a couple key factors that could really help you get off and be more successful. I mean, those would be the campaign quality, making sure that you've structured and built it properly to grow, because you're going to want to be able to scale that as your business grows. Second, we would look at keyword quality and make sure that you have quality targets. And this kind of goes beyond keyword even. It goes into just targeting, because sometimes you're doing product attribute targeting or you're doing ASIN targeting. And you got to make sure you have strong targets for each of those. And you're also going to want to look at your budget efficiency and make sure you're maximizing your ad dollar, and you're not undercutting or cutting away at your bottom line. And then last, you're going to want to focus on brand awareness if you're a private label seller or somebody working on growing a brand, or even if you're a distributor who's making sure that they're trying to get the most advantageous placements for their products.
Yeah, and one thing to remember, these are the placements that you really want to focus on. You want to work on building these cornerstones, but you have to remember that it does take time. This is something you can't just jump in overnight and then see results the next morning. I wish it was like that, but it's just not that easy. And on top of the time aspect of it, there's really just a lot of experience and know-how that goes behind this. You have to understand how the system works, understand how the campaign types work, and that's something that we can definitely help out with, because what if there was a better way that you could claim that time back and not have to worry about Amazon advertising and get better results than you're currently getting?
Absolutely, Ed. And that brings us to an important aspect of what you and I do day to day and our teams execute on. And that is that expert human touch. It's a layer of logic that allows our team to operate on top of software and make sure that we're maximizing returns for our clients. And it really does take a human touch at certain times. There's a lot of it that can be automated or expedited through software and tools, but there's aspects of it that really do require hands-on approach from someone who's skilled with it.
Right. And that really is just kind of where Seller Labs Managed Services comes in, because we deliver that wisdom that's been derived from experience. We've been doing this for quite some time. We understand how the system works. And just like you said, data and algorithms are wonderful and they're really awesome, but they can't really learn as much as we can, and they can't become wise, so to speak. So that's where that human touch comes in, to give that extra layer on top of the software, to catch things before the software does, or to just do things that seem really natural to us just because we've seen these types of scenarios before and we know what to do to get the best out of those advertisements.
Absolutely. And so let's transition here and talk about each of these cornerstones in a little more detail, because I think there's some tidbits of information that you and I can share that'll really drive people towards success. So first, let's touch on campaign quality, because this is often part that's overlooked. People are in such a rush to get their campaigns going that they kind of breeze through that whole process, and they don't think about all of the different ad units that are available to them, which ones are going to be most effective for their goals. And so we often see that people aren't taking advantage of all the different types of campaigns that are being offered. They might, touch just autos, or they do autos and manual and think that's enough, but they're leaving out important facets of this, like product attribute targeting, ASIN targeting, sponsored brand campaigns, all of the various placements that you can achieve through those.
Yeah, and then on top of that, we also see sellers who have made campaigns and they're just looking to achieve short-term goals. They're not looking for that growth. They're not really prepared for the longer game. So even if they do have the right type of campaign set up, they're kind of sometimes thrown together, just kind of last minute, just to see some type of results right now and not thinking about the future.
Absolutely. And this is a really important thing. You can't put all of your eggs in one basket. You can't just focus on one ad type and see success in the long run with it. Eventually, you're going to start to slip, whether that's category expansion with category terms or branded terms. You've got to diversify. You've got to find different ad units at different times that are going to be more successful for you.
Right. And this does go for any type of seller as well. Like, I want to make sure if you're, a vendor, if you're a seller, 1P or 3P, this still applies to you. As advertising has changed, there's, a lot more features coming to the 3P side that were only available to 1P in the past. And that's something that you have to make sure that you're focusing on. And you want to make sure that you're building your campaigns to scale. Like I said, you want to make them in a clean format. That's something that I've always done because it's easier to understand and optimize in the future. But also a big factor of this is being able to optimize easier in the future, being able to understand how you built it so you can just add on new products or add on new ad groups or keywords with ease. And you can actually see what's working and what's not working. Think about your future self and make it easier for yourself in the future, and make it easier to expand those campaigns as time goes down.
That's absolutely true, Edward. That nomenclature can make a big difference if you name your campaigns appropriately.
Yeah, and we've definitely had our cases where we have some clients come to us and we just can't really decipher what's going on. And it is something where we have to kind of start over, or just, kind of try to find some information that we can from the existing data and optimize that as what we can. But this is actually a really good example of that, where this is one of our clients that we have, and they came to us and they currently, at the time they had no ads running because they just didn't understand as much about how to optimize them, how to build them out, or really where to put certain products. So we were able to step in and completely restructure everything. We built brand new campaigns with, a new naming system. We had them set up for growth, and we have done a lot of work with their account. It just shows that If you clean up your campaigns, you can see dramatic results. And on this graph, you can actually see the line that's going down is their ACoS. And once we stepped in and we cleaned things up and started driving more traffic successfully, the ACoS dropped way down. And the green bar, that's the sales, that actually skyrocketed because we're able to add more product with ease, because we're able to optimize with ease, because we know where each product is, what each ad group is doing. And we have just provided tremendous results just by keeping in mind that the campaigns have to be clean, they have to be able to be optimized with ease, and we have to be able to jump in there and see exactly what's going on. We can't just jump in and spend 30 minutes trying to find out what we're looking at. So just by doing a campaign cleanup, you can see results like this. And this is just one of our clients that we have just really loved the kind of results that we've seen from the campaign cleanup.
That's really impressive, Ed. And I see a great question that just came through. And this is something I hear all the time from prospects and even some of our customers who are looking to just be more successful is, I have a lot of SKUs. I've got a ton of variations, maybe different sizes or colors. What is the best structure for them for those campaigns? I think it really depends on what goals they're trying to achieve. I think there's different advantages to different structures, but you can go very granular and break them out so every SKU has its own ad group or its own campaign, and you're going to get a lot of data to work with. And so that can be really helpful if you have the time to go through and optimize that. Right. That can also be really troublesome if you're not willing to invest that time. And that's where you might want to go with the simpler strategy and bucket items by either product type or by the design that they are or the group. Mm-hmm. And don't rush into it head first and just try and get everything advertised if you're not confident. Take a little bit of time, start to learn the process on a smaller scale, and then figure out how to scale it from there.
Yeah, and definitely going back to like the time aspect of it, always build things out in such a way where that you can go back and optimize it. Because if you are being extremely granular and you're going down to a SKU-based system, that does take more time. That is something that we actually do because we have a full team that can work on that. But I have seen a lot of people that have started off with just a handful of SKUs just to start to see if that works for them. Then they can tell if that kind of structure is going to be something that can be scalable or not. So always think about scale. Always think about your future self when you're building out those campaigns.
Absolutely. So let's go on to Cornerstone 2, Ed, and let's look at keyword quality. This is another important aspect, and it's really about target quality. But we see a lot of customers come to us and they've just got thousands of keywords, sometimes hundreds, but sometimes thousands of terms where they're trying to target too many things with their products. And they really need to figure out how to pare it back and figure out which terms are actually most advantageous for them, not going too broad and then quickly realizing you don't have enough working capital to really fund that.
Right, exactly. And this leads to one of my favorite two words is wasted ad spend. Just because the campaigns can't really be scaled, they're harder to optimize. It's a lot more data that you have to really sift through to find out what's working, what's not working. And there's lots of overlap, especially too, that can be caused by having just thousands of keywords in a campaign. You may not even know what you're targeting anymore. You just kind of forget. You're just constantly adding to it.
Absolutely. And one thing that you really have to be able to do is listen to the data. You need to be able to understand which terms are best for you to target. Don't just follow a hunch. Don't just guess based on what you think your item should be. They really need to figure out which ones are going to be best for them. And sometimes that takes a little bit of capital to test that out and figure out which terms are best for you. And it also evolves over time. So you don't be using a search term report from a year and a half ago and saying, these are the terms that I have to rank for. The way customers behave and interact with Amazon has evolved. We're seeing it increasingly transitioning towards mobile, and people tend to search a little bit differently on mobile than they would on a desktop. And so that changes the terms that are input and the way they use filters and interact with the platform.
Yeah, and definitely once you're able to find out and do that research to find out what type of strong keywords you want to go after and you want to continue to target, you can reinvest that wasted ad spend from, the keywords that weren't working for you. You can take that ad spend that you saved and reinvest it back into the keywords that are performing well. This is one thing that we do with all of our clients, and this is something that's not that hard. It's just realizing how much wasted ad spend you cut out, and then you can kind of double down on the keywords that are working for you. Because if you have the data to back it up and you see that they're converting at a great rate, then definitely go after them, of course, depending on everything else like cost per click and things like that. But you can just take that wasted ad spend and just reinvest it back into the stronger keywords that you have inside those campaigns.
Absolutely. So let's look at a specific case here where we're looking at some client data. For confidentiality reasons, I can't share this client's name, but they're selling some white iPhone cables here, as you can see.
Yeah.
And so what we saw was they had too many targets that were overlapping linguistically. They were quite similar, and realistically, with the match types that they had applied, they could match for those same keywords, just a different variation or permutation of those exact terms, with just either a phrase or a broad in a different area. So they had a lot of overlap where they were splitting out data and splitting out these impressions to a number of terms, all of them aiming for this same one goal of a really low ACoS. And what we had to do was actually go through and trim down the number of terms and make sure there wasn't too much overlap. It leads to poor results. It leads to confusion. It leads to smaller data sets where you're not able to analyze it as effectively. One thing that you and I rely on, Ed, is data. We need enough of it to make a decision. Same is true for a computer that's going through and running an algorithm to try and quantify these things. Too little data, or if it's spread out too thin, you can't make really good sound judgment calls based on that.
Right. Like even with this, these are just keywords. Looking at the search term report for this client is ridiculous because you're going to see the same search term showing up in so many different placements for other keywords. It's just kind of a headache because you're getting some clicks on this keyword, some clicks on this one, but they're for the same search term. You have to kind of combine them together and see how it's working. So it's just really frustrating when it is, so complex like this with all these keywords just overlapping, and it does just cause chaos, to be honest with you.
I think we got one other great question here, Ed, that I want to take. How do you handle some of the changes that Amazon has made? As most of you are aware, and hopefully all of you are aware by now, Amazon's enabled some new dynamic bidding features and bid adjustments that allow you to target different placements with different bids, and allows them to control some of that bidding. So if you've created a campaign before roughly November of last year, odds are it doesn't have these new features for your auto campaigns. So our foolproof method for this is really just go mine all of that data and recreate those campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
It's relatively low impact, or it's not very invasive to go through, pull your manual terms, try and mine as much data as you can so that you're not spending again. Make sure you pull your negative keywords and then launch those campaigns using that history that you've acquired through different bid adjustments and such.
Right. Because you have the data, you have that information there. Something to believe is like whenever you do recreate new campaigns, you're just kind of recreating them with the data that has worked before. And that's completely fine. That's something that we always say. There's nothing wrong with that. It's better to kind of relaunch them sometimes to give that benefit of a doubt, where Amazon will see it as a new campaign and may drive even more traffic to it because it's a brand new campaign. Awesome.
Cool.
So next one, cornerstone number 3 is budget efficiency. I feel like this one is overlooked all the time. I feel like a lot of people just kind of set their budgets and they leave them for years. They don't even realize that, because just like what we say here, in our experience, clients often will look at their keyword bids way more closely than they monitor their daily budgets. They're just kind of missing the overall picture. And you have to realize that budgets are essential to driving results. You cannot just think about how much you're spending on one keyword. You have to look at how your budgets are doing throughout, a day, over a week, and just kind of see how they're fluctuating, going up and down. We're going to talk about that more because this has to be hit home.
Yeah. And one thing that we do, Ed, here, you're well aware of it and you've done it yourself here, is we're constantly monitoring our clients' budgets to make sure that they're maximizing what they're doing. At differing times in ads life cycle, there's going to be differing strategies for how aggressive you want to go. I'm sure all of you've received an email from Amazon saying your campaigns are almost out of budget, increase it. Well, that's not always the wisest decision. Amazon's definitely incentivized to have you spend more money on their platform, even if the ads are not effective for you. So you have to be able to make that judgment call yourself and determine whether you need to do a little more optimization before you really fund it more, or if you can actually just pull the trigger and go ahead and increase that bid or that budget overall.
Right, and that's exactly what we have to do. Is if a budget maximum is reached, we only increase it if the campaign is providing the desired results. That's what Bret's talking about. Is Don't just say, oh yeah, this one maxed out, I'm going to raise it by $50 or $500. You don't want to do that. You want to see if that campaign itself has been providing results, if it's been leading to sales, if the cost per click on most of the keywords is affordable, what it's really spending, what the return is before you increase it. Don't just always go in there and just increase them whenever they max out, because if you're not getting sales and you're just spending, you're just going to make it worse for you in the long run.
Exactly. And, we try to treat your budgets like they're our own. We really see ourselves at SLMS as a partner with you. We want to work with you to make sure you're achieving your goals, not just spending more money. So we don't base our fees off solely what you're spending, because that's not going to really get you in the right direction. So we do want to make sure that we hit home on that and you guys understand how we operate with those budgets.
Right. Like we really are an extension of your business. And this is a prime example of this. This graph may look a little weird to you guys, as you can see, but there's a trend that happens. As you can see, there's a drop off in sales every weekend. And this is actually done purposely. And this kind of explains the best way to use your budget. In this case, this client actually, for religious reasons, we can't really give all their information out. They don't actually run the ads on the weekend. And what we've been able to do is we set up ad scheduling, or day parting as it's called as well, through our Ignite tool for this client. So that way the campaigns are actually off over the weekend. And by doing that, we're able to reallocate that spend from the weekend back into the week. So you can see some pretty good spikes that happen throughout the week. So we're making sure that, since we're not running the ads during the weekend, we're capitalizing on those budgets during the week. We're really constantly monitoring them to see if they're maxing out and increasing them based on the results that they have. And this is just the way that we kind of want to make sure that you see that we are an extension, and we're here to make sure that your budgets are being used efficiently. And we're not just going to raise them up and just kind of forget about that, when it comes to every client that we work with.
Absolutely, Ed. And, this brings us to Cornerstone 4, which is brand awareness. So for somebody who is either launching a private label brand or working on growing that private label brand, or even if you represent a brand and you're working on achieving those milestones that are set forth by management, this is something that we take, very seriously. We love to help work with clients to achieve what their goals are for getting visibility of their products in different product verticals. And, it's not just one type of ad unit that's going to get you there. Oftentimes it's a myriad of ad units. So I've worked with people who are running AMG campaigns, and they're also working on tactical approaches with sponsored products. And we're working together to make sure that we're hitting top of the funnel all the way down to the very bottom and driving sales holistically.
Yeah, and this is definitely something huge. When it comes to brand awareness, the first thing you have to remember is if you are eligible for Amazon Brand Registry, register.
Say that again.
If you are eligible for Amazon Brand Registry, you have got to register. This is something that we ask all of our new clients. I even just ask random people on the street this a lot of times too, because I love working with brands that have brand registry, because it opens up, so many more opportunities for you on Amazon. And it's really a benchmark that allows you access to some other tools.
Yeah, exactly. And not only does it help you protect your brand, but it gives you those other suites of tools or access to potentially use them. And there's so many advantages to using these that you really have to be considering it if you're at all interested in launching a brand.
Right. And even just by using sponsored brand ads, formerly headline search ads, as they used to be called, we have seen an awesome increase in traffic for a lot of our clients' brands, because in that way you're able to advertise more than just one product. You're just kind of showing, oh, here's an item. You're showing your brand whenever you're doing the sponsored brand ads. And that's just driving your brand awareness significantly. And that's needed, especially in the way that Amazon is shifting towards the brands. Capitalize on that, take advantage of everything that they're giving the brands and really make sure you're using that to your advantage to drive more traffic to your products.
Yeah, and I want to hit home on a key point there, Ed. Brand registry doesn't guarantee you access to all of these other features. It is the bar for participation. So by taking advantage of it, you're getting yourself closer to being able to use all of these other features.
Right.
Some of them you still have to apply for, but if you haven't even taken that first step, Amazon's not going to take you seriously, and they're probably not going to give you those units anytime soon.
Exactly. So like we said before, we'll say it one more time. If you're eligible for brand registry, register. Go ahead and go through that process. It might be lengthy. I don't know what the actual time frame is for it now. It used to be pretty long, may have gotten shorter. Go ahead and get it started. And so, advertising definitely builds brand awareness. There's definitely the brand registry part of it, but then also some of the things you have to keep in mind are these three, different features right here. And the first one is sponsored brand ads. Just like I said, with this, you're getting your brand in front of shoppers. You're not just showing one product at a time. You're not just showing up on someone's listing, which is still definitely needed, but you're going to have a better advertisement that's going to display more about your brand. You can have your brand logo in it. You can have a lifestyle image in it if you want to. You can have a short little headline as well. So it helps build your brand and show that you're more than just a seller on Amazon. You have a brand behind you, and you want to support the customers and the people on Amazon, and you want them to, kind of explore your brand as a whole.
Yeah, and that's really just the doorway to an entry point into an experience of what your brand has to offer, and that is the storefront. If you've set up and you're running a store, then you're already familiar with how you can monitor the analytics of the traffic and understand how consumers are behaving once they're kind of into your funnel. So you can use those sponsored brand ads to drive traffic directly to your store and make sure that people are able to experience all you have to offer. I just this week was working with a client who finally got his store going, and he's extremely satisfied because he's finally able to see a little bit more detail and understand when people are interested in his products, what are they engaging with most? So this is a really overlooked aspect of the store, but it's those analytics that underlie it.
Yeah, and definitely, I love storefronts. It feels like a mini website for a brand that's on Amazon, I guess you can say that. And it definitely adds that extra layer. And then whenever I go from there to someone's actual listing of a product, that's where the enhanced brand content comes in. This is a really awesome way to capture new customers quickly. This is going to make it easier for customers to really pull the trigger on your product and go ahead and buy your product, as opposed to shopping around as much. With that enhanced brand content, you're able to tell more about your product. You're able to show more images about it and really give you more detail about it. So that way, when they land on your page, they shouldn't have any questions about your product or really your brand, honestly, because that should all be taken care of in that full listing that has the enhanced brand content.
Yeah, and Ed, let's look at what it looks like to actually capitalize on brand awareness. And I think these two key statements right here really nail it home for me. That an over-reliance on branded terms solely will lead to diminishing returns eventually. Essentially, you're not targeting anybody new. You're relying on people to already be aware of your brand, or you're only able to target your competitors' brands. And neither of those are really long-term strategies. By themselves, I should say. And then effective brand awareness really does require some strategic category keyword targeting. And that's figuring out what mid-tail and long-tail keywords are going to work really well for you, and then moving your way up the funnel to the point where you can finally target some of those short-tail keywords. Let's use an example here. You heard you mention earlier Nike. So Nike isn't going to take the approach to just target the keyword shoes. They're known for a number of things, but they're not just going to target that single keyword. They're going to want to target the most relevant mid-tail and long-tail keywords for a particular product until it can gain enough ranking to move up and be number one in the shoes category. So let's say athletic shoes for men. They'll start out targeting a campaign against those keywords. Or, whether it's hiking shoes or running shoes or basketball, baseball, they're going to take a different approach for each of those for the different products in their catalog. And that's really one of the underlying cornerstones of this, is making sure that you've got the right strategy to achieve the brand awareness that you're looking for, not just going broad in a shotgun approach and trying to hit everyone.
Yeah, and also on top of that too, you have to keep in mind seasonality. This isn't something where, just like you said earlier, like how you said, you can't just look at a search term report from last year and use that data. With any type of advertising, you are going to have to optimize all the time. And especially when you are looking to build brand awareness, you have to keep seasonality in mind, because if you have found these other, category keywords that you're targeting, that may change at certain times of the year. When, the winter comes around, a lot of holidays are happening, and more people start advertising on Amazon. And that can lead to more competition or different terms that you may want to go after. So you have to reassess as trends and the competition changes on Amazon. Never just set and forget, especially when it comes to building your brand. You have to be very competitive and be willing to do that extra research to see how it's working, or how the cost per click is trending, or who else is really going after these types of terms as well.
Exactly. And I think we got some great results here. If you look at the two green boxes, this is a client of mine who we worked with, and we were running a number of different ad units to try and grow brand awareness for particular category keywords. And I think I got to stop for a second and make sure that these are defined accurately so people understand what we're talking about. A branded keyword would be a particular term that includes your brand or model number or the name of a product in your catalog. And so these are terms that people are able to very easily identify as being a part of your brand. A category keyword is a consumer who's searching higher up in the funnel. They don't quite know what brand they want yet, but they know the type of item they're looking at. And so that's where I'm talking about targeting those two keywords to make sure that you're effectively growing your brand awareness.
Right.
And you guys can see the results there for yourself as what we were able to do for this client. This really is a stellar example of what we can achieve given the right brand with the right goals. And that's really a key part of this, is setting realistic goals for yourself and your brand.
Right. And Bret did a great job with this one. He was able to really work with this client and work it out in such a way where they were able to reach out more from just those branded terms and find the like particular category keywords to go after that led people back to the brand. It's like a way to reach out and pull people back to your brand. And then from there, people will start to learn your brand and understand it more. And you can just expand upon that over time. So that's just wonderful. Always keep that in mind. Don't just go after your branded terms.
And Ed, you know, one of the strategies there was looking at that keyword quality and that target quality, because they were just too broad. They had way too many keywords, a lot of them overlapping. And so we actually trimmed a lot of those out, or cut them out and paused them. And we were able to then be more strategic and more focused on particular areas and particular searches that we wanted to rank for.
You know, it's almost like all these cornerstones come together.
They really do.
You really focus on all those almost, you know?
Yep. Great. So let's go ahead and offer this up to people. If somebody's interested, you know, if you want to know how you're doing and how your ads have been performing, go ahead and contact us at ads@sellerlabs.com, and we'll get you a free advertising scorecard. All we require is one quick file from you. It takes about 3 to 4 minutes to do everything on your end. And then we'll follow up and give you a scorecard, and follow up with a call if you'd like, and talk through those results. You know, this will give you an idea of whether or not you're a good fit for managed services, as well as here's a couple points that maybe you can take home and act on right away to see if this will give you some extra value.
Yeah, and this is really awesome because it's going to look through those 4 cornerstones that we have, and it's really going to like break it down and see, it's going to grade everything and see how things are running for you, because we definitely want to help out. And Bret has actually developed this tool, and it's quite beautiful, I'll be honest. Very easy to understand, and I think it's really incredible, Bret. So good job there.
Thanks, Ed. And you know, it actually grades you on the 4 cornerstones. So I've written out a couple macros and built it based on data that we were able to analyze from a myriad of clients, and figured out what does a successful seller really look like.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So definitely reach out, ads@sellerlabs.com, and we can do the free advertising scorecard for you. And also, guys, Seller Labs Managed Services, we want to be there for you. We want our PPC experts, including Bret and myself, to get that advertising portion of your Amazon business off your plate, because we're always here to, you know, increase your reach for your ads and your profitability. And we want to free you up to focus on other areas of your business, especially if you're a growing brand, for instance, and you need to go through brand registry. You need to monitor your inventory to make sure that you have things in stock. Let us know, because we can take the advertising portion off your plate, free up your time, and provide you better results too. We're really all about PPC. We're like Bret and I, we said earlier, we're both pretty much nerds about PPC. And the rest of our team is as well. I'll say that for them. They're probably going to come at me afterwards and say that they're not nerds, but they are. And we're definitely here to help you out. So let us know if we can take that off your plate for you.
And Ed, that's a huge advantage here, is a lot of these sellers are looking to automate parts of their business. Mm-hmm. And so that time spent that they're spending right now can really justify the fee for having somebody else white glove manage this for you. In return, you also get partnership where we're able to give you a little more insight into your own selling account than you would gain on your own.
Oh yeah, definitely. We definitely take a little step back and look at more than just your advertising results. We do keep your whole entire account in mind. And that's just the way that we can see what's working and what kind of results you're getting overall from the advertisements that we'll be running for you.
Cool. Ed, let's hop into some questions here. I've seen a couple come through, and I want to make sure that we get some of these answered. This client or this customer says, I've been spending about $3,000 a month on sponsored ads for the past several months. So there should be a lot of data to review, but doesn't Amazon only let you see the past 60 days, not earlier periods? And that's fairly accurate. Amazon won't let you select customized time periods within Seller Central. And they also won't let you download data from older periods. So unless you have a process in place where you're really good at cataloging the data yourself, or you're connected via API and you can pull that data, you're not going to have access to those older time periods. But fortunately, that's something that Ed and I both have access to through API if you choose to go with managed services. And Seller Labs will also catalog that information for you if you become an Ignite subscriber.
Right.
It will allow you to go back and compare periods, years ago, from really about 60 days before your sign-on date.
Yeah. So just with that, what that means is with our tool Ignite that we actually use as well for managed services, when you connect your account, it pulls in the past 60 days of information, and then it continually adds to that data going on. So the next day you'll have 61 days of data, then 62 days, and 63. So we have some clients that have been with us for about 2 years or so. So we have 2 years of data inside of Ignite. And that is so nice to have, because we can actually look back as far back as we want to and look at certain, time frames if we need to as well. Let's see. And let's see. Sorry, looking through some other ones, guys.
Is it advisable to have some crossover of search terms for sponsored product ads and sponsored brand ads? It depends on how liberally you're applying those.
Yeah.
I think that's where you got to be somewhat careful. I think overlap is not a bad thing inherently. Too much overlap, I could see you kind of cluttering up the space. I personally don't like to go extremely aggressive on category keywords. If I'm running a sponsored brand ad that is constantly or very consistently owning that top spot. I do want my ads to show up there, but generally that can do a lot of the lifting of driving traffic to those product pages. So I'll feature those top 3 items that I really want to be up there in that sponsored brand ad.
Right. Yeah, definitely the overlap can be a little confusing sometimes, to be careful with that. You can also just look at the data that you're pulling from your sponsored product ads and kind of see what's working for you there. And you can use that information to build your sponsored brand campaigns. And you can always pause keywords in the sponsored product campaigns while the brand campaigns are taking off, or just even lower your bids possibly, so you're not getting like the same page placement as your sponsored brand campaign possibly.
And I hear some people asking about a 3% ACoS. I think that's from one of the earlier slides.
Yeah.
That is a pretty stellar performance.
Yes.
And they were also very streamlined in their performance. They had some very strong SKUs. Social proof matters a lot. So if you don't have strong reviews, you're not going to be able to expect those same results. You need strong reviews. You need a good price point in a market that isn't extremely competitive. But then you can expect things like that.
So that does vary, guys. It does vary, depending on what your goals are. With them, we have taken such an approach where we can be very direct with our targeting on their products, and that's led to an awesome ACoS. And they're also in a non-competitive field, honestly. They kind of found a way to excel by themselves on Amazon just because of the products that they're offering are not really offered in other places on Amazon yet. So they've definitely got in there at the right point. We're just helping them succeed and drive that traffic as much as possible.
And, I got one here. What is the average ACoS for SL customers? We don't commingle data from our customers' data. It's all siloed out. So I don't have an average for you. And it's highly dependent upon the goals of each individual brand. So like I said, we're working with each of them to determine what those goals should be, making sure that they're content with those goals and they're looking to achieve those in a reasonable time period. And then we aim for those and we work towards those. So the ACoSs can be really very different depending upon what the client's trying to achieve.
Right, because if you're trying to be too aggressive with your ACoS and pull that down, you're going to see a huge drop in impressions and conversions, and it's going to hurt your business overall. But that's one thing that we kind of help you with is we come to you. One of the first calls Bret or I actually have with you is, what are your goals? What do you want? And if we think it's something that's, a little too far-fetched or something that doesn't seem like it's going to help your business, we tell you. And we try to take a different approach that's still going to help you drive traffic without seeing a large drop-off and those sales and those impressions on your existing campaigns or new campaigns we make for you as well.
Yeah, I like this one. So I have a question. I'm currently using Channel Advisor. What's the difference between you guys and them with PPC? One of the biggest differences is we are focused on Amazon. We're hyper-focused on it.
Yes.
We don't touch Google, Facebook, Instagram. These are all things I've done in the past with different roles outside of the scope of Seller Labs. But I came to be at Seller Labs because I wanted to focus on Amazon. I think there's a huge advantage to being an expert on Amazon and focusing your resources on an area where we can really own the market and understand it better than a lot of other sellers. And Channel Advisor is kind of all over the place. I'd love to know how you think they're doing with your account. So if you wouldn't mind, reach out, send us an email to that ads, and make sure and include my name in there, and we'll set up a time to talk.
Yeah. See if we got a couple more. And also just kind of piggybacking off of that, when comparing our services to anyone else's, one thing that we do want to always talk about is, a lot of other services do rely primarily on software. They just use software. They may run it through or things like that. With us, we use a combination, but we do really capitalize on that human touch. We do use Ignite to help us sift through the data and filter it out and find out what's working, what's not working. But we work day in and day out manually on campaigns. We actually do the work ourselves. We have a full team of PPC experts that do work on your campaigns. They build new ones. We have the meetings with you as well. It's very interactive. That's something that definitely differentiates us from competitors or other people in the field as well, because I think we stand out with how much of a human touch we have when it comes to PPC. And we can catch things a lot faster than software can. So you can see results possibly a little quicker than if you're just running it just through a software by itself.
I love this next question, Ed. What is a good conversion rate, organic sales, to have on a product before we turn on paid ads? I think that's really going to depend upon the category you're in. Again, I'd love to talk to you, reach out to us so I can kind of give you a little more guidance on this, but it really does depend. If you look outside the scope of Amazon, a good conversion rate for an e-commerce store might be 1 to 3%. Stellar would be 3 to 6%. That all falls apart when you come to Amazon, because Amazon is not Google. Google is a search engine designed to give you good info, and so you might get some people that come across your site by chance. Amazon is a conversion engine. They are hyper-focused on selling you stuff that you need or want. And so that totally falls apart. I've seen conversion rates up to 30% where we drive a lot of traffic and it just stays at 30%. And it's like the sky's the limit. Just keep funneling people in there. Yeah. I've seen other products where they can't support that much. So you kind of have to ebb and flow with it and make sure that you're not driving that conversion rate down too much.
Yeah, especially on the overly saturated categories, man. That's always really interesting to look at. Is people come in and their conversion rate's just really low because it's just such a competitive field that if they want to get their conversion rate up, they have to play the game. They have to be competitive, and then that hits into how much you're spending and what you're getting back. So it is something, like you said, contact us. We can talk about it more in depth. We can kind of take an assessment of your category and your products and see how the actual the field is for you, and go from there to give you a better idea of what you can kind of see if you do drive more ads, because usually it does help. Usually it does help you get better placement that leads to better conversion, but you have to be smart about it. You can't just throw money and hope that you get thousands of sales overnight.
Yeah, I see another question about marketplaces and where we support. So managed services will work with a number of marketplaces. We work with vendors. We work with 3P sellers. We do that in Europe. We do that in Canada, United States. Go ahead and reach out to us and let us know your unique situation and what you're looking to do. I see this person is looking to sell in Europe and needs some help there. One of my clients came to me today. He's been really happy with our results in the US, and he wants us to also manage his Canada and his EU or UK side of things. So we definitely can support that. It's just a discussion we got to have about what you're looking to do in each different marketplace.
Yeah, because goals can change. Always realize that. Goals can change based on the marketplace. That's definitely something you learn pretty fast when you take a look at like Canada's market in comparison to the US and the trade difference that you see there.
Yeah, it's like 1/10.
Yeah, it's
Canada.
All right, guys. I think that's all the time we have for slides. For questions. I do want to get to one more slide really fast. As most of you have heard, if you have not heard, we have an incredible conference in Atlanta. And I'm not just saying that because Bret and I are going to be there, but it's honestly one of my favorites. There's some incredible knowledge sharing, lots of great topics, some incredible speakers, including Bret and I. And if you would like to come, we hope that you would like to come out. It's going to be in Atlanta, May 7th through 8th. And it's going to have a lot of industry experts there talking about topics and doing some actual, some individual talks as well. And you can save $200 on tickets. And you also get a free 15-minute advertising audit with one of our managed services PPC experts. And this is huge. I love doing these. I'm really excited. I'm going to be there actually doing some of these. It's going to be just 15 minutes of us sitting down, looking at your ads, trying to understand exactly what's working, what's not working, giving you some ideas. And also at the same time, we can kind of tell you more about what managed services can do for you. So definitely go to sellerlabs.com/resonate and use the promo code SLMS. That's Seller Labs Managed Services. And once again, that's $200 off the tickets. That may be actually, I think, the biggest discount that we've done. So definitely.
Yeah, I think so.
That. And Brett and I will actually be there speaking, and we'll be doing the 15-minute advertising audits as well. So we'd love to see you. I can talk about PPC all day. So there's some hangout time before and after. Sometimes you can grab me. We can just talk about it. I love talking about this stuff. So I'll definitely be down for that if you guys come by.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to this, Ed. I know that Resonate is known as a conference that kind of takes off right where a lot of other conferences end their speech.
Yeah.
You know, somebody will go through and do 25 minutes of build up, and then you get one little tidbit of info. I think Resonate really focuses on the content. We've really curated our speakers to make sure that they hammer home with some real key initiatives that get you going in the right direction.
Yeah, and definitely last year I learned a lot of stuff. And also I got to hang out with some awesome PPC experts as well. So that was just wonderful. And definitely, like I said, guys, love to have you there. I love Atlanta too. So I'm excited just to be in Atlanta. And just use that code, and it's just sellerlabs.com/resonate one more time. If you have any questions also, you can let us know too.
Cool.
Awesome. But I think that's everything that we have for today, guys. I do want to go back here. Once again, you can reach out to us. It's ads@sellerlabs.com to get your free advertising scorecard. We'll just need just a little bit of information. Well, it's very, very easy. Then you can kind of go from there. So reach out to us as well. Any more questions or anything else that you need. We want to thank you very much for joining us today. We've definitely loved talking about these 4 cornerstones. Don't forget them. And yeah, anything else, just let us know, guys.
Cool. Thanks, Ed. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Brad. See ya.
All right, bye.